Feel the love, celebrate the joy, and experience the majesty of The Lion King on Broadway. Come experience it with someone you love and make new memories together. Visit lionking.com today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that aims at shedding a light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and on Black excellence. And today, to represent Black excellence, we have a very exceptional guest, a young, gifted, and Black Mrs. Roxanne CADE. Welcome to My Harlem Portraits, Roxanne.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor. I appreciate it.
So Roxanne, you are a Director of Client Services for the Nederlander Producing Company of America, which Broadway Direct is a part of. So you were born in Brooklyn, born and raised in Brooklyn, and you have had 12 years of experience in the New York City tourism industry before you transitions to Broadway Direct at the Nederlander. Tell me a little bit about what were the most important moments where you felt that that was a turning point for you in your career?
Thank you. That's a great question. As a native New Yorker, I adore our city. I really love our city, and I'm so grateful that my parents took that time as a child for me to just go to the museums, and they were a part of different boards and different organizations. There was always some event. There was always something to go to. And when I got out of college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I just happened to find like a entry-level position at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. And so many tourists from all over the world come to, see the works of Madame Tussauds. And she was a iconic woman in her own right, just as a businesswoman, as a pioneer, as an artist. So there was a lot of pride in that, and just how many people would ask, how do I get here? How do I get here? They were always, curious about what other things they could do in the city. And as my career progressed, when I got the call to work for Broadway, it just made so much sense, considering if I'm selling New York City as Broadway, and for me to get the opportunity to help set, and create diversity in our audiences and understand more about the diversity or lack thereof in our audiences. And this was in 2019. So this was prior to the pandemic. This was prior to the whole DEI wave coming in much later. So I appreciated that the Nederlanders were genuinely interested in filling in that void and understanding how they can make a difference, continue to make a difference.
And that is the trend now, because we saw that it was during the pandemic that really Broadway started to give more space to Black theater and Black representation.
Exactly.
And so, and it's not stopped there. Now, the Black community on Broadway is very, very expanded and very represented, and among the most gross incoming shows are the Black shows.
Exactly.
I mean, MJ, the Lion King.
I did my own research just to see like the history and what shows, and then I see the pricing and things like that, and it was just an obvious thing that like everyone loves music, loves entertainment, loves live performances, just like you would go pay to see Erykah Badu or someone at the Madison Square Garden. It's the accessibility. So I think just understanding why, feeling welcomed and feeling like you have a place, and you see people that look like you on stage and behind the scenes.
Yes, and that's very important. And as Director of Client Services for the Nederlander, your aim is to foster this diversity and inclusivity in the theaters that your company represents and owns. So this is really a huge task. It's not easy. So how do you go about this?
So when the position was created, it was again a brand new position. So it was really up to me to kind of determine what was that going to look like, what was that outreach going to look like. And I just kind of like tapped back into my childhood, just thought about all the organizations that my parents were a part of, whether it was the Weeksville Society in Brooklyn or as members of the museum, them taking me to shows. So I kind of started there, like NAACP organizations, National Action Network, fraternities, sororities, historical Black colleges and universities. I just kind of created like this database, regional database where, because we own theaters all over the world. So I wanted to help my counterparts in California, my counterparts in North Carolina, if they're looking to tap into this audience, we should all have access to this kind of, just encyclopedia of Black excellence. And I included National Black Association of Physicists, of astronomers, of just any profession you can name that, any profession that highlighted their specific Black employees and or architects, you name it. And I put it in this spreadsheet and I spread it out by like Northeast, Southeast, East, and then we have the West Coast as well. So it's just, now we have that data, we have the information. What do we do with it? So, and it's so vast. So it was just kind of a lot of cold calling, a lot of just emailing blindly to the info at, AKA 1908.com.
There is someone else, someone on the other side of the info, right?
Maybe they'll see it. Even at that time, we were pushing the Tina Turner musical was in our theater at Fontaine. So I thought like, okay, how can we align, the Delta sorority had made Angela Bassett an honorary Delta. So I thought that's a good tie-in. So just like thinking of anything, even working with domestic violence shelters to just give those women an idea of a night out to get some inspiration from a woman that had experienced this and see that there is hope, there is, help there for them. So each show has its own unique, capabilities and ways for us to connect with the audience. So it was really just putting all of that information out for us to just see and then attack.
They have done a very good choice in having you there, definitely.
It means a lot.
I mean, these ideas are very smart ideas. I mean, something that not everybody would think about going all that. And I'm telling you because I used to represent European Parliament. I was a director of the European Parliament, so I was public relations in the north of Italy, and I had to set up the office that didn't exist.
Yes.
And that's what I had to do, going into all this, where can I find, which are the pockets of our society that need to be reached if we want more people to vote at the European elections. That was my aim, right? So, and you are doing fantastic. Very, very good. Congratulations for that.
It's an honor to be able to do this and help my community and help, theater. We're very lucky to have theater owners that we have. They've been very generous to our community.
Yes, well, but there is reason, like there is an economic reason also behind. We know that the African American in this country, they spend a lot of money they are big consumers. So,
that was part of the gap, trying to understand. We know the spending, we know, we have the shows that have people that, are represented on the stage, but it's like, that's not enough for everyone. I also want to know who's making the costumes, who's doing the hair and makeup, who's doing the design, who's in the orchestra. There's so many elements that go into one production, and to see the representation throughout the fibers of the entire production is, I think, what the goal of the Nederlanders were.
Yeah. And it is a very smart goal and very important for the societies as a social socially very important goal also, because we need this inclusion, especially now that they're trying to eliminate what we have as the inclusion DEA. So
I started this database, right, in 2019, to the like 2018, 2019, I kind of had a better idea of what I wanted to do. So 2020, I'm like, I'm so ready to activate this plan. And like, I go January, February, March, and then it was shut down. So, you know, I was furloughed for 15 months, but in that time, at no point I knew what I had to do is we still have to do this. You know, we still have this mission, we still have this journey. So I just kept telling myself, look, my work's not done. When Broadway reopens, it's just going to be that much more important, again, to connect with us, to connect with those audiences. So I just kept the ideas going. I kept thinking about it. I kept, you know, I would try to go to bed early just to, if I get the call tomorrow from HR, like, we're opening, like, I wasn't up till 4 a.m. or something, you know what I mean? So I knew and know how important this is. So I won't, you know, I can't until we're done. We have so much work to do.
And after the pandemic, it was even more important for people to get out, because we have been constrained for so long that a Broadway show, a musical, a play is
I burst into tears the first show I went to after. And it wasn't even like a serious show. It was like Disney did like Tarzan and like Lion King. They did. I'm sitting there crying and like at Hercules, you know, but it just felt so good to be back and see.
Exactly. So this organization is so vast and so important, has so many theaters. Let's talk about a little bit about the theater that belong to this group, and how did they start and what they are playing now. That would be very important. And then, sorry, one last thing before we go to the theater. You do a lot also for the schools, educational system, and I would like you to say two words about that.
Yeah, so mainly my department in group sales, we focus on getting discounted group tickets to 10 or more. So anyone that's 10 or more people are looking for 10 or more tickets. Some of the shows, like Lion King is 14, Wicked is 15 or more, but those productions offer discounted rates for groups, and essentially they're around $20 off each ticket, and then you wouldn't pay any additional fees. With schools being tax exempt and, you know, on limited budget, sometimes there is special student pricing for certain productions that you'll have as low as like $49. And some of the theaters are, you know, classic New York theaters, so they're not very big, you know, and you can see from everywhere. As the theater owner, we always get unobstructed views. So we always put in a good request, and the box office, you know, really delivers on making sure they add that extra component. For the schools, we can, if the show puts out educational content, we can always send that. We work with restaurants near our theaters if there's like dining options they're looking for. So there's all kinds of things that we try to just really make it a full experience, even with, you know, if you have 100 kids coming into the theater at one time and then they're all like, oh, I want to get snacks, I want to get drinks. We own the bars in the theaters as well. So we would send the school prepaid vouchers that would be branded with the school's name. It would have our logo on it. And it would just say like, this is valid for one water and like one bag of chips. You know, they would be able to give that to our bartenders, and then they would have everything ready. So 100 kids are not waiting with money, and, you know, or any group. So just those added bonuses just make the experience that much more cohesive. We also can give discounted merch items for different shows. So we try to make a package deal with it.
Very nice. Very good.
It's fun. So each theater, like you said, just going back, each theater has its own unique characteristics, their own traits. So example, our Nederlander theater, which is our namesake, that was you know, that was one of the first theaters that was in the Nederlander family, and it holds a special place to Jimmy Nederlander's heart because he adores Lena Horne, and she did a huge Broadway review in 1981, and I mean, it was gone on to have a cast album produced by Quincy Jones, and she went on tour for her 65th birthday. But she holds such a special place, and we'll get into that later, but we even named our theater after her, one of our theaters, and she's the first Black woman to have a Broadway theater named after her. So, you know, for her to have made that staple, and then now the Tommy's Who is playing in the Nederlander Theater now. So that's a revival. It was, you know, 1967, they created this rock opera, and now they're bringing it back after its Chicago premiere. So at our event, we had a guest, a gentleman who was in the original production, and he's at the Broadway Museum now. So just having those historical like elements of actual people, either or the places, you know, tying it in, it really it adds to that experience. So we own 9, just to be clear. In New York, we have 9 of the theaters.
9 theaters. The Tommy, when did Tommy start?
Yes, opening night was last week, so it has been open. And today, when I went to get my lunch, the theater is on 41st and between 7th and 8th, and I went to get my lunch was on 8th Avenue. The line was all the way to 8th Avenue. So, and we've been getting the requests, and people have just been really excited to, you know, so it's, you know, when we get a new show like that, that's, you know, a piece of history and a piece of nostalgia, like it really does bring out a whole new wave of fans and new wave of Broadway attendees.
Because the Who first they had that rock opera in 67, right? Then 25 years later, they did the Who's Tommy on Broadway, and
Yes.
it won 5 Tony Awards.
5 Tony Awards, and so that changed exactly what the, you know, boundaries of what a musical is, you know, just kind of, you know, made other directors, other artists come out and just feel more free to, you know, put out that kind of music and that kind of content. So we're excited to have it in our Nederlander Theater.
Yeah.
And that's our smallest theater, but it's like your home, it's like a home feeling, you know, it's very warm and inviting. It's like an intimate, more intimate setting at the Nederlander.
Wonderful. Then you also have the Gershwin Theater.
Yes,
Tell me
yes.
a bit about that.
Yeah, so the Gershwin Theater, that one is on 50th Street, and it's our, I want to say it's our largest theater. It also holds the Broadway Hall of Fame. So there are some amazing photos and just like just some memorabilia of some really Broadway legends and icons. And there's nameplates, and there's even a space where we can host in this theater because it is so large. So if we have, you know, those kinds of things, like this one is set up to kind of host things. But in the past, you know, after just kind of not having a lot of activity on Broadway, like 1974, there wasn't really a lot of shows out, and Sammy Davis Jr. had performed at our Gershwin Theater, and at the time it was called the Uris Theater. So once it was renamed, it was you know, open, and Sammy really, you know, just kind of changed the game for him to come out from his Vegas, you know, tour and to do something on Broadway. And after it's been kind of just silent and dead for so long, it was really impactful.
Yeah.
And I wish, I mean, like, I was a fan, but, you know, obviously, before, but, and now we've been so fortunate to have Wicked in our theater for the last 20 years. People are obsessed with Wicked, and the movie's coming out. So,
Oh, really? Oh my God.
and Cynthia Erivo are in the movie. So we have the real version, we have the real Land of Oz right on 50th Street. But you know, with that show, it's, it comes from a different perspective. So you have your Wizard of Oz story, but then there's some twists and some turns and some surprises. But it's a story about friendship and being kind and doing the right thing. So those kinds of messages, again, we're sharing with everyone. So we'll get you into Wicked, don't worry.
Okay. I'll hold you to that. Good. So then the next one is the Neil Simon Theater.
Yes.
That started with Porgy and Bess.
Yes. So I mean,
about that.
1925 when that play was created, when that was written. So that first version was around 2 hours and well, excuse me, 4 hours, and it had 2 intermissions. So imagine just like you're all day long. So I mean,
You
but
really have to love it.
have to commit, and if that's your whole day, you're not doing anything else. And then it was on tour like in Boston for a little while. It opened at the Carnegie Hall, and this is 1935, and then it came to which was the Neil Simon was known as the Alvin Theater. This was October 1935. So it lasted there for 124 performances. And then, it's gone on to go on tour and just completely dominate and just be a staple in American theater, for all of our lives. So it was renamed in 1983. And have you seen MJ, the musical?
I have seen it.
Isn't it phenomenal?
In the second one, and I haven't seen with this performer, but it was incredible.
Right. So now we have MJ, a very unique story, perception of Michael Jackson's life and legacy. And it's just so impressive. And I've seen it about 5 times. I can't say anything bad about MJ. It's one of my favorite. It's just so well done. It's so well done. And
I mean, Michael Jackson is
what can you say?
is Michael Jackson.
So imagine how difficult that was because I mean, in the show, it's not even like he's playing Michael Jackson. He's channeling him. He sounds just like him. You're watching, you know what you're hearing, you're not hearing Michael Jackson, but you're like, am I not hearing Michael Jackson? Because it's just that good. So yeah, I mean, the Neil Simon is jumping every day with that show. So we're very grateful for that one. And the ad team, everyone's been so helpful in promoting that show. They have great student pricing, $59 in the rear mezzanine for certain performances, for certain matinee performances.
That's really pretty good price.
Yeah.
For Broadway and something like that.
Very popular with the schools, that one for sure.
And now we come to the Lena Horne Theater that you mentioned before. Yeah. I was at the inauguration of the Lena Horne Theater. It was a fantastic renaming of the theater. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so again, my boss, Jimmy Nederlander, he's an avid fan and just he is a big Lena Horne fan and just what she's brought to arts and entertainment, what she's brought to just American culture. Even in our office, when you walk into the office, straight down the hall, she's the first thing you see when you come to our office. So just to like, it's real, like it's legit.
Definitely in love with Lena Horne, your boss.
So, for that theater was built in 1926. And, obviously things were a lot different, but, for us to take that change and, just give her flowers and make that acknowledgement, and having her family there was a very special moment. And for the show that's currently playing, it's called Six, the musical, and that's about King Henry VIII's ex-wives. And again, we're talking about women that have overcome so much triumph and just, all kinds of things. And that show it's like pop musical. So imagine Catherine of Aragon and Cleves, but they're giving Lady Gaga and Beyonce and Taylor Swift vibes. So it's such a fun, and it's 80 minutes, no intermission. It's a very like direct, good high energy show, but it's also good for schools. It's also a good mix for people because, you have that historical element of it. The costumes are, I'm like, please, if there's extra ones lying around, I'm happy to take anyone off their hands, but it's a very beautiful show.
It's beautiful. I saw that. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it very, very much. And also because it's perspective you don't expect. I
Yeah.
didn't know that I was going to see that in that way. And so when you see them coming out dressed like rock stars or dark,
And
it's
it's like
fantastic.
your ballad, you have your pop song, you have, they really hit all of the elements that they won, like, I think around 20 awards for that show. It really took off. And, it's a testament again to Broadway fans are hardcore because that show was set to open on March 13th, 2020. They were supposed to be opening night on the night that Broadway shut down, and everyone, the cast album went just crazy. It came from the UK, and it was just like crazy. As soon as it opened again, everyone just picked up right where they left off, and the new queens that are in it are phenomenal. So I think that's one of the long-standing shows for sure.
Gonna be a staple on Broadway. We come to the Palace Theater, where in 1976, Diana Ross had her one-woman Broadway show, An Evening with Diana Ross, which lasted for 16 engagements, and that made her very famous. Tell us a little bit about that.
And she just had an 80th birthday yesterday, so happy belated to Ms.
Diana
Diana.
Ross.
Yes, the palace is a very, very, very special place. And that was the first theater that my grandfather purchased in 19 that theater was purchased in 1936. But a special moment for me, I was on a conference and we were at the Lorraine Hotel Motel Museum in Memphis, where Martin Luther King was assassinated, and they have all these artifacts. They have things for sale, like the Green Book, which was, the international book that Black travelers would be able to purchase so that they knew wherever they were going, that they were welcomed in these locations, in these venues, etc. And I had just gotten the position here at Nederlander when I went on this trip, and I picked up a Green Book, and I was like, I'm just curious to see like what theaters are listed there. And when I saw the Palace Theater there, it made me very emotional because it
Glad
just
in those times.
exactly. So it just reiterated to me that we were welcome then, we're welcome now. And just having this role, it was like, okay, we've always been welcome. So for them to take that effort to say, okay, where is everyone? They've always been welcome. It's like, that really touched me. And I was like, okay, I see exactly what my job is and what I need to do, because this isn't something they're trend. It's not a trend. It's a commitment that has always been in place. So that solidified me, because that book was published in 1964. So, I mean, for me, it was like, okay, I don't
You
need
are in
to.
the right place.
I was like, let me get started. Like, let's roll up our sleeves, So, the palace was under construction for a few years, and they did a total gut renovation, $2 billion renovation. It's attached to the TSX hotel. So they've raised the theater up 3 stories, which was an architectural feat all on its own. It was like 14,000 tons. It took 3 months for them to slowly raise it, little by little, and in keeping the theater in its original state. It's a landmark, so everything had to be, measured, and all these seismographs and little cracks, and it was like I prayed for our VP of operations every day. I gave him my crystals, I gave him smudge and Palo Santo, everything, because I just couldn't imagine. I'm like, a $2 billion renovation. This is crazy. Because as they're lifting,
I saw it on TV not so long ago at the show di Lella. It was talking about this. And I said, did he say elevate the whole theater? Did they really hear right? That's what they did. That's incredible.
that's not something new, because the New Amsterdam Theater where Aladdin is used to be where the AMC, on 42nd Street where the AMC is.
Yeah.
But they moved it down the street. So they just kind of pick up the theater. It's its own little box. It's just like packable, and they just rolled it down the street. So for this to be a elevation project, it was just like, oh my goodness. So I don't know if you heard, but yesterday Shakira did a surprise concert in Times Square, and she came, it was at our theater. So that's out on our like balcony overlooking Times Square. So celebrities will have that opportunity to do that as well. And we just announced that Ben Platt will be performing starting in May. He'll do a run, and then the Tammy Faye musical is going to be coming in the fall. So we already have 2 shows lined up there, and then there are going to be like these series of like surprise Times Square takeover concerts. So I think that's just a nice little addition to the legacy, completing the legacy that we've kind of already laid in with our other shows. This is such a beautiful new space that I just can't wait. I can't wait to see, the first show and everything in there.
Well, listen, if I could go back to your age, that would be the kind of job I would want to have. You are in the best place one could want to be, I think. It's beautiful what you're doing.
I feel grateful. I feel supported, because that's important too. And then meeting people like you, meeting people like Irene Gandy that have just, embraced the mission and taken me under their wing, and are just like, come to this thing. And I meet more people, and I can just tell more, stories. And fortunately, we're in a place of, we just want to talk and know and learn, it's not like you need to buy tickets right now. It's like, we're very fortunate that we can have those conversations. And my boss always says, you have a friend on Broadway. That's literally like his slogan. You have a friend on Broadway. And that's the message that we want everyone to know. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you're coming from, but you do have a friend here on Broadway.
I think this is a perfect way to end this conversation. And I think it's a mission that is fundamental in this country, especially in this moment where division is the tool that is being used to make us weaker.
Yeah, suppress us.
Yes.
I agree. Division is the tool that they are using, and we have so much proof and evidence that this thing called theater and entertainment will continue to bond and unite people forever. And there's, you can't break that bond that people have for the love of seeing other people be happy and get their creative expression out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this very, very interesting conversation, rich of information. Thank you for giving us your time, and thank you to our viewers. See you next Saturday, 12:30.
I'm past patiently waiting, I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties and sorrow. For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow.